I want to talk about attachment styles and attachment theory today because I have a theory that attachment theory is wrong. So hear me out. I read about attachment theory a long time ago, and I immediately was skeptical because a big part of the premise is that basically it's a type of insecurity, basically. And my take on insecurity has always been, and I think this is generally right, that insecurity is caused by some misperception of reality. You're believing something that isn't true, and it causes you to be insecure. And really, in order to stop being insecure, you just have to identify the misperception, and you'll stop being insecure. That simple. And so, the framing of attachment theory sort of like puts it all in a completely different light. There's a lot of emphasis on your relationship with your parents and stuff that happened to you as a child, and it just all felt like obviously like bullshit to me. And I think a lot of other people have also questioned attachment theory, but this is my take on it, which is that I think there's a kernel of truth in attachment theory, which is the main things: avoidant attachment style and anxious attachment style are actually representative of conflict resolution strategies and not actually of attachment style. I don't think it has really anything to do with attachment. It's a conflict resolution strategy. I don't know if I want to call it attachment style or conflict resolution theory because I'm so used to talking about it as attachment style. But avoidant conflict resolution styles is essentially like if you have conflict in your relationship, what you do is you provision access of like intimacy to you all the time in your relationship, and if people do not either respect your boundaries or if they aren't reliable, then you deprovision access basically. So you're just like, I'm gonna bump you down a level of access until you show yourself to be reliable, or you show that you can respect my boundaries, and then you'll have access again. That's basically avoidant conflict resolution in a nutshell. And then correspondingly, anxious attachment style is when they don't have boundaries. Really, they don't have set delineations for barriers, boundaries, ways that they should be treated. Instead, they literally just have one strategy, which is that in the case of any conflict, I'm just going to seek more intimacy. And that's basically anxious conflict resolution in a nutshell. And these two like styles of communication sort of exist often as a dialectic, where typically almost always in relationships, and this is a theory, and I'll tell you why I'm still working on this, but so basically I have a theory that essentially obviously it's not static, and also really any personality theory that proposes that you are static and always going to be a single way because you were born that way or because of your upbringing, I don't think that is really true. And also I think that that's not mainstream science anymore, or no mainstream theoreticians think that way anymore, but it is often pervaded this way. But you can change your attachment style. Not only does it change based on the relationship, but also can change inside of a relationship. It can flop back and forth depending on how your relationship is going. And I think that there is a very strong sort of thing I have observed to be true, that if one of you is anxious, the other person will be avoidant, almost by definition, because it's like the fact that one person has boundaries makes the other person anxious by comparison. So it's like if one person has more boundaries, the other person is definitionally more anxious and more seeking intimacy as a solution to problems than the other person, because whoever has more boundaries is definitionally more avoidant. And so I'm not sure that this whole concept of a secure attachment style exists. Obviously, I don't think there are attachment styles in the first place, but I challenge the idea of a secure attachment style. I don't know what that means. I've read about it, obviously, but I don't think it makes sense. It's not even, to me, it's like a sensical framing, because, or at least let me caveat, which is to say that I think theoretically it's totally possible that two people could understand each other, or at least one person could be like, oh, my partner is avoidant, and then they could just change their conflict resolution strategy to be more avoidant, or to be more aligned with an avoidant way of approaching conflict resolution. And so that if secure attachment style or secure conflict avoidance exists, it's probably just somebody who understands and naturally speaks both conflict resolution styles. And also there's technically a fourth category of attachment theory. Is called disorganized, but I've read several books about attachment theory and it's never once been mentioned, and I'm not sure why that is in there. I think that attachment theory in general is disorganized, and anyway, so let's see what else. Finally, the last thing I want to say is that I also have observed this, and I think that this might be true, that the attachment styles are actually often correspond with or overlap with whoever has more power, or it might be investment in a relationship. So it's like whoever has more investment in the relationship is probably going to be more anxious, and whoever has less investment or less power, less investment is going to be more avoidant, probably. But actually, if the person who has more power would probably be more avoidant. And there might be other axes along which you can slice that. I also like asked ChatGPT about this. And ChatGPT, I'll paste the response that ChatGPT gave me in the description because this is interesting to me. And it says that there are other people who have theorized about this.